Right, shall we get ourselves a couple of guests onto the show? Enough of the pomp. Let's have a couple of more educated people than me come onto the stage. So, I would like to invite... Where's Mike? Where's Mike?
No, Chris and Manos.
Is he... Okay, we're not doing Mike. Okay, cool.
So we just had a little bit of an emergency from Mike Sherrard, guys. Hopefully he can come back to us later. The show goes on.
The show goes on! Fabulous. So I'd like to invite to the stage from Agency Black Salt and All Things Incredible, Manos Findakakis is joining us. And from EXP, these guys making waves from Adelaide, Chris Jansen.
Our name correctly. Thank you so much.
Mate, pleasure to see you, buddy. Pleasure to see you, buddy.
Sorry about the tardiness.
No, mate, welcome to Melbourne. As you said, yes, Adelaide's so much better.
Well, I was optimistic, thinking I get a 6 a.m. flight. It gets me at 7:30, which allows an hour and a half to travel to the venue for a 9 o'clock start.
Good luck.
And here I was arriving at 10 o'clock on the dot.
Mate, honestly.
So
yeah, it's yes, I agree. So these chaps, for those of you that don't know, we'll get them to do a little sort of genesis thing of themselves just quickly. But my observations of these guys, as a guy that does observe the game quite a bit, both of these individuals have absolutely blazed trails in the industry in terms of not just how it's run, why people should even be in the game in the first place, and challenged the status quo unlike almost anybody else in the industry. And that is for the betterment of you guys. That is for the betterment. It's not for the sake of their own health. They felt firmly that there are better ways of doing this. And that takes bottle. That takes nerves of steel to do what these two lads are doing and have done over a number of years. You are crazy if you don't connect with these guys after today, if you're not already connected. I respect both of them tremendous amounts. I'm really excited for this chat. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Couldn't tell you how much we appreciate it. First off though, for those that, does anybody, and don't be shy, anybody that doesn't know both of these faces? Awesome, some new people. Excellent. All right, so Chris, I'll start with you. You could give everybody a little sort of 60-second elevator spiel as to who you are and why you've got this snazzy jacket.
Can't be the best. Back the best. So I'm Chris. This is my 16th year selling real estate, transactional wise. I'm a dad and a husband first and foremost above all things. Prior to where I'm positioned right now, I was a traditional real estate agent in a franchise model. I was a selling listing principal for 5 years prior to coming to a cloud-based option. So I've kind of seen both sides of the fence and can come to you today with a little bit of conviction on some education and some tips I want to share with you. And still selling property in Adelaide, South Australia. I'm based about sort of 30 minutes north of Adelaide, not as far as we are today from Melbourne Airport to here. Outside of real estate, I love to fish, camp, live for the outdoors, and I feel like the cloud-based model really provides a solution where the business now complements my lifestyle, whereas where I formerly came from, I felt like my life existed purely just to serve my traditional bricks and mortar business.
Yeah.
I've got 2 beautiful daughters, so I'm outnumbered at home. I don't know how you are, mate, but I don't win any arguments.
Oh, he's got boys club. He's got boys club.
And a loving wife who's very supportive and yeah, just loving life, and thanks for the opportunity, Melbourne, to be here. There's many familiar, talented faces that I can see in the crowd as well, so look forward to meeting those that I haven't met today as well.
Awesome. Round of applause for Chris, please. Manos.
Where do we start? We start with losing a bet with my wife. Took real estate 21 years ago. Lost a bet with my beautiful wife Maria, just at the back of the room somewhere. Yeah, and came into real estate absolutely kicking and screaming. The last thing I ever wanted to do was be a real estate agent. Having said that, happy wife, happy life. And we entered real estate in a traditional franchise model back in 2003. It was an absolute cold start. Learned the ropes very, very quickly. We took that business in 30 months and sold 530 odd homes. My business partner Arthur joined us at that time, so it was 3 of us doing some crazy stuff. Got 50% market share. And then in 2006, we had sold that business, took a year off, always felt we could do things a little bit differently. thought there was a little bit of a change happening in the marketplace, and we saw some disruption. We always felt the disruption wasn't going to come from the portals directly to obviously to the clients. We always felt there was going to be a disruption between principals and agents, and obviously we're seeing that at the moment. We started EU Real Estate. It was a traditional real estate office. Again, we took that within 2 years. In our second year, we did 630 homes in sales, so we knew how to scale, and we learnt a lot through that. That was really exciting. We expanded to 4 to 5 traditional franchised offices. Our model was a little bit different. We're supplying essential services as opposed to just selling a franchise fee and the brand. But back in 2015, had a little bit of a light bulb moment and said, you know what, we're providing the vehicle, we're the pit crew servicing those vehicles, we're training the agents to drive the vehicle as fast as they can, left, right, forward. Some of them were driving it backwards, but that's okay. And we felt there needed a change, and we said the only thing that was really missing at the time was the agent needed to personalise a number plate and choose their own coloured vehicle. So that's when the Your Brand, Your Business model came out, and today, proud to say, we're actually 147 offices, 668 people in the team, 400 agents as of yesterday, which is exciting, selling $1 billion worth of property every 3 months. So yeah, so it's been an exciting journey.
It has.
And beautiful wife, beautiful, amazing business partner, probably more related to my business partner than my kids. He's a godfather to our kids, best man, and everything. 2 grown boys with partners, and also have a grandson as well. He's gorgeous. Love my life at the moment.
So it's Maria who's outnumbered.
Yes.
Very much the outnumbered
We'll
one.
have to talk later. There'll be a lot of
I'm the
common synergies.
Yeah, very
I'm
much
sure.
the outnumbered. She's very much the matriarch. So, you know, behind everyone there is a very, 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 very clever mind out the back there. And I'm talking about Arthur, by the way, Maria. So. The amount of respect, though, that I have for both of these guys and Arthur and Maria out the back is like I said before, team, these guys, they do what they do because they feel that our industry, which is so critical to the game, so critical to life, could be done better. And they take our game seriously, which is why they stick their neck out. I mean, I'm sure, Manos, I'm sure you would have pretty had your back to the wall at various stages, because you were one of the first, really, to do this sort of satellite model, weren't you?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
And look, everyone talks about cloud and virtual and so forth, but really it's the way we actually operate our businesses, and whether you're operating from a physical office, and the majority of our offices are physical offices, and it's more from a team camaraderie. The office purpose has changed to what it did, 20, 30 years ago, where you needed that street presence, the high street frontage, clients coming into, obviously, the premises. But I've always believed that when the competition is zigging, you should be zagging, but also understanding the client. And our client is the vendor. So we've known that the vendor follows agents, not necessarily brands. I'm not saying brands aren't important, because I'm a big believer there's an agent for every vendor and a vendor for every agent. And likewise, there's a network for every agent and an agent for every network. So everyone has its place. Every model has its place. You just got to find your tribe. So that's what the most important thing is, finding your tribe and what suits you as an individual.
Well, you've segued us in wonderfully, because this was the first topic that I wanted to talk about, of the topics that we've got to cover, which is the brand, the importance of brand. It's something that it's a constant topic that constantly comes up and gets debated. And it generally turns into a major franchise versus your satellites, right? Versus your more mobile, agile players, right? Where the bigger franchises are sort of pinning their franchise fees and the validity of their franchise fees on the fact that their greater brand presence means greater trust in the greater community, means more open doors, so on and so forth. Whereas the agility and the mobility that you guys represent show a different side to it, right? Where that you're working more with the way that the world is starting to play and think and act and feel from an agility and mobility convenience point of view, and a digital point of view as well. Chris, when you decided, when you took the decision, because you were one of the early adopters of EXP, right? Talk to us openly, if you can, about that internal debate that you had of letting go of a bigger brand that you knew was established and knew, you know, had been serving you, to taking this big leap and jumping in with a brand that no one's ever heard of. Like, what was that internal debate like? Because you must have had a couple of sleepless nights.
Oh, of course, mate, but I think you either believe and back yourself or you don't. It's something that's inside you internally. Whether you rock up with capital and you put you know, everything on the line to buy into a traditional business, as I did when I started, you know, a six-figure sum to own something, to have equity. You got to believe and back yourself one way or another, irrespective of the network, the brand, whatever model you choose. It's an internal entrepreneurial spirit and belief. But yeah, mate, for me, I remember in 2017, 2018, I embarked on this journey and I looked at everything across the country, including Manos' model as well, and then I sort of broadened my search to overseas and see, you know, because we're always a little bit behind, and kind of once I seen what was happening over there, I couldn't unsee it. But yeah, mate, I was very doubtful, as you would be. You know, I had a big business, 2 franchise locations, 2 offices, massive rent roll, 53 staff across 2 locations. Even my parents were like, "You're mad, mate. You're not even 40 and you're walking away from this. You know, your biggest critics, what are you doing?" But I knew that there was evolution. Our industry hadn't been disrupted and seen change for generations. And for me, I thrive in change. I love being at the forefront of evolution. But don't get me wrong, mate, I did doubt myself. There was moments there where I thought, have I made the right decision? I mean, my wife and I even put 20 grand aside for the first 90 days, prepared to burn it. I remember having that conversation vividly with Melissa and saying, "Look, love, we've been part of this big brand. I don't know if we're going to lose momentum or not here. Let's put 20 grand aside to cover us for the next 90 days with all our marketing and prospecting initiatives and see if we burn it." We got to the end of the first annual year, and it wasn't, look, I'm not big on numbers, mate. I don't have this whiteboard in my office going, this is how much GCI I've written, this is how many appraisals, listings and unconditionals I've got. I kind of just focus on who and what's in front of me today. And it's got me there at the end of the annualised year. But I did my tax return in 2018, 2019, and Darren, my accountant, said to me, he goes, "Chris, you've had a pretty good year." I said, "Yeah, Darren, I've had a few more weekends off and we've travelled a little bit more as a family and I've spent more time at home ultimately than at the office." Right? I said, "Why is that?" He goes, "Well, you've net profited 83 grand into your business in this 12-month period." I said, "Oh, okay." So naturally, as a transactional agent, you think, "Oh, I've sold more homes," right? So the first thing I did is I jumped on the big portal. We'll talk about them today, I'm sure. And I thought, how many have I done in the last 12 months? And I actually sold 11 less homes than in my prior year, part of a big brand, as a selling principal. So naturally, I thought, well, maybe this model isn't working because I'm turning over less. But just by reducing my operative costs, obviously retaining more, my net profit was far greater than what I had previously achieved in a gross position as a business owner. But yeah, mate, there was sleepless nights, there was, you know, and the good news is we put that 20 grand away, we didn't touch it, and with the 83 grand that we made as a net profit in our first year, 2020 EXP, I packed the family up, we jumped in the caravan, we travelled to Australia for 12 months and I still sold 13 homes whilst gallivanting around the country because of this cloud-based option. So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Manos, because I remember when you went from the eView brand, you made that big shift relatively recently to the agent's agency. And looking at it from the other side, like what lessons did you take out? Because eView was your baby, right? That was your baby, and you've grown that with Maria and Arthur, you've grown that so significantly. So to make a shift would have been so significant a change for you personally as well as professionally, right? And what were the lessons that you learned personally from that change that these guys can take on?
Yeah, from a branding perspective, I think it's really important when everyone goes out there to position themselves in the marketplace that their brand actually speaks to their target audience. And what we found is we were a real estate office as eView Real Estate, then we moved over to eView Group to do the expansion. And what we found is we had an identity crisis at the time, and we really had to pull the band-aid off. So as businesses do evolve and they grow and they obviously mature, your positioning in the marketplace may change, which had happened to us. So we became an essential services model. People knew us as a eView Real Estate as a traditional franchise. That's what it looked from the outside in. So we needed to rip the band-aid off and go to Agents Agency, which describes exactly what we do. So from a branding perspective, it's really important that sometimes when you're inside the jar, you can't read the label from the outside. So yeah, and it's really important, and we knew we had that little bit of a challenge on eView, but I thought, why can't I be branded as eView? Why would I be under, can I choose eView? Can I be my own independent brand? So again, our philosophy obviously matured and our direction changed, but it was also the forces of the marketplace as well. Because our agents are our customers, and we've always believed what's in the best interest of our customers, being our agents, and of course our agents' customers being the frontline landlords and sellers. So that's what we did.
I really want to dig into the jar analogy, which I think is amazing analogy. You can't read the label from inside the jar, and it's that thing of working on the business versus working in the business, right? We all need to do this as agents, as individual operators. We all need to understand our customers as best as we possibly can, so we know how to package ourselves moving forward, right? To put the right label with the right information on for our customers. Talk to us about that process a little bit. How did you manage to get yourselves out of the jar, so to speak, and make sure that you were fully in tune with your audience, which in this case with the agents?
Yeah, so you have to think end of mind. So it was actually, when you reverse engineer, thinking end of mind, so as individual agents or business owners, if you made the decision to be in real estate for the rest of your life, what does it need to look like? And so that was our question to ourselves. And so we looked at it and said, okay, our big audacious goals, we have 325 offices, 1,000 agents to reach our financial goals and our big audacious goals. So what did it need to look like? So it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. So when you reverse engineer what your business needs to look like, you can make really critical decisions early and take action to it. And of course the process is change management. Most people fear change, and then people are attached. I mean, look, when we obviously spoke about, changing eView Real Estate to your brand, your business, and everyone operating independently, hey, we've got the tomatoes thrown at us. There's no question. But you have to have your conviction, you have to have the end in mind, and your belief. And so sometimes people get off the bus as well, because they don't see the same vision as you, but you've got to really back yourself. But that's like in anything, do you know what I mean? You've got to believe it's the right thing for your customers and follow your vision. But always think end of mind, think of where you want to go, what does it need to look like.
And I'll just dovetail off that, we're not here to say our model's perfect for every agent, right? We say no to agents as much as they say no to us. I think there's a fit for a certain agent that for a big brand or a franchise network, it's great for them, definitely. I mean, I started my career in the GFC for that reason. For us, we're really after the true entrepreneur agent that can operate with autonomy and freedom and likes a lot of flexibility to be really nimble and to pivot really quickly with their marketing and their prospecting initiatives or what they want their own brand to look like at the end of the day. A lot of the training and mentoring that we do within our model is all about, Andy, how do we make you the household name that people are calling in? Don't worry about the brand. We want people to call you because they know Andy, because you were talking before about relationships and you've nurtured a relationship with somebody over a lengthy period of time. We want them to remember Andy, not black, white, pink, yellow, green.
And that's a really important point, gang. And it all comes down to taking ownership of who you are. I mean, you mentioned it, Chris, and you both sort of said similar things. It's not a one-size-fits-all world when we're dealing with so many individual human beings, right? But from our point of view as agents and as property managers, we need to be able to own who we are first, right? You need to be able to own if you are an entrepreneur, if you are someone that likes order and structure and all that sort of, and operates best, and that's how you vibrate best, is within that sort of capacity and within that structure. It's really, really important that you actually do that work on yourself before any of this can even become anywhere near successful. I mean, how many times, boys, do we see and hear great agents crash and burn just because they've made the wrong choice? Because there's a disconnect between the vehicle that they're in and who they are as individuals, right? And we deal with it all the time behind the scenes on DMs and all that, with people fretting and panicking and all that sort of stuff. So, gang, it's really important. If you're going to make a success of this, you really need to own who you are. It's massive. It's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the course of the last 12 months just myself. It's taking absolute ownership, because as Chris said rightly, when it comes to your customers, don't even think about trying to please every single customer. It ain't gonna happen. Statistically, it's just not going to happen. And letting go of that need for perfection and validation from every single human being allows you to work to your strengths for the people that will see those strengths for the value that they have. And I think that's one of the challenges when it comes to us helping our clients to understand our value. If we try and shove our value down every single throat, it'll never happen. But if we own our value, it becomes a lot easier for people to recognise it. And it's the same with the brands and things like that as well. Now, I want to do a bit of a 90-degree turn if we can. We'll talk tech for a bit, because obviously that's something that's very much on the mind of everybody. Manos, you very, very recently brought out an AI coaching product with Black Salt, which I think is absolutely amazing. I'm so glad it's your voice and not Arthur's. But like, talk to us about your evolution, your thinking, your headspace around this technology shift as you've seen it over the 22 years that you've been carried on.
Yeah, and it's a really important aspect to look at technology. So being in real estate for 21 years, we haven't seen all the biggest changes that ever happened, but one thing's been really exciting. Every single time there's a technology shift, agents actually earning more. Now we talk about obviously commissions dropping. The percentage might drop. Average commissions actually doubled, more than doubled since the time we've started. So really need to look at the dollar figure as opposed to the percentage, because I think we get obsessed about the percentage, and I know in the best state for commissions is definitely Queensland. We're really lagging behind here in Melbourne and of course Sydney, but it's understanding the marketplace. But when we go back to technology and through AI, so the next evolution is obviously AI. It's the big shift where we're seeing our agents really thrive using AI is speed of execution, speed of reply. So every single email, every single SMS, and of course when I say every single, I'm talking about those people that are actually practically using it, use it initially and then they become familiar and they're actually getting AI to teach them how to respond to emails and language. So the best example I can give, two examples of two of our team members. One team member was up against a vendor who was comparing this particular agent, $1 million agent, with two other agents in the marketplace in Geelong. This particular agent went to ChatGPT, threw in all the information about obviously herself and the other agents, and just asked the question to ChatGPT, what should I say to the vendor for the vendor to convince them that why should they choose me? And ChatGPT pulled out all the graphs, pulled out all the emails and so forth. So she had that dialogue. She got on the phone to the vendor, spoke to the vendor, and it's phone first, email second. It's really, really important to understand where AI fits in the equation, not email first and then AI, and then phone call. And so on the phone to the vendor, a brief summary of the email, I'll put it in writing and send it to you. Well, 2 hours later, she had a signed authority. It was just obvious. So it just enabled the agent just to give that little bit of an edge and confidence to herself to actually win the business. On a second one, and this is for those people who know my twin brother George, who works in my office. So just recently, using one of our chats, he goes into, had a property on the market for over 4 weeks, 5 weeks, one particular offer on the table. The vendor wanted 650,000, the offer was at 630,000, just could not bridge the gap. Went into ChatGPT, went into our sort of tailored ChatGPT, put in the dialogue, say this is where I'm stuck, this is where the buyer is, this is the character of the buyer, this is the character of the vendor, what should I be saying to the vendor? Send an email, write an email to the vendor, write an email to the purchaser. Before he sends it, gets on the phone, starts having some dialogue, and it was some beautiful dialogue, you know, from the vendor's point of view. So, Mr. Vendor, this is, the state of the campaign. We're probably experiencing some buyer fatigue at this point in time. And so you need to make some sort of decision. The offer is at 630, etc. Goes back to the buyer. You need to increase your offer, etc., etc. The buyer didn't increase the offer because he couldn't. He was maxed out. The vendor accepted the offer 2 hours later. And this was a negotiation that was happening for over 4 weeks. And so just using AI in that sort of respect is fantastic. And of course, now with Black Salt, and you've got an AI coach on demand. So the big thing is, okay, I need some information right now. So AI coach, you're able to actually, I'm stuck on a negotiation, let's do a role play. Because one of the big things about agents is doing role play. And being able to do role play through a platform that actually learns you. So the more you go into it, and obviously it's a personalisation, it actually remembers who you are, your character, and it just builds that persona of you to help you in further negotiations. And what it does, it's speed of execution, speed of reply, but also you're learning. So you're going to be using AI less because you get more experience at it, and obviously the information that provides you. So they're the two fundamentals that are happening obviously in AI. And of course, we've probably all heard about when you have a disgruntled vendor or landlord or whatever responding to emails, having that tailored for you. So lots of little tricks out there.
What about you, Chris? How's technology? You mentioned there that you gallivanted around the country and still sold a few properties while you were having some fun with the fam. Moving forward, how do you see technology defining the space with respect to this conversation of how much AI is going to take over and how much AI is going to eradicate some of the requirements for the humans in the real estate space? How do you see that playing out?
Well, it's here to stay and it's not going anywhere, and it's advancing at a rapid pace. I mean, I foresee in the future, we've got Peter who'll do a beautiful presentation on Rex today, but the AI capacities in CRMs going forward with automated nurturing and prospecting and lead generation, that is starting to already happen in the States, so it's only a matter of time that it's going to be here. But for me, tech is always evolving. It's AI today to be something different in 5 years' time. For me, tech's all about scalability, speed and agility, right? So you can look at it from a three-prong approach there. One, locally, so as a local business owner, there was always tech evolution for me as a selling principle. Could I keep up with it? No. Did I know the product best? Absolutely not. Did my agents want it? Yes, but I was too busy trying to list and sell. Keep the doors open, right? So it's really challenging as a local business owner to keep up with the pace. So then you look at it from a national perspective and you think, okay, maybe the big brand, the big network will provide it. But again, that can be a lot of heavy lifting and it can take quite a lot of time to R&D, to roll out, to implement, to train and all of that. Obviously, we're a global company, right? So, you know, what happens in the States, we see firsthand, often before it's even here in Australia. A lot of the stuff, and I'm going to probably do a demo today, I think if we've got time, on a product that we were introduced from America with our model. And like Manos, our company, you know, we've got $114 million in cash reserve right now. So we're investing hugely in the AI space, and rather than trying to build out the platforms that can take, you know, a lot of time, we're just buying companies with people that are smarter in that space and collaborating and becoming involved with them. We've just partnered with Canva recently. We've got some AI solutions that's happening in the US right now that will come to our shores. So it just happens at such a quick pace that with agility and speed, it comes down to, are you collaborating on a local level, national, or can you leverage a global opportunity such as us that do a lot of the legwork for us, and then we just roll it out, train and mentor on it here locally.
Nice. Now, chaps, we've got a little bit of because we've got some international people on the line waiting for us to go. I want to get your final thoughts on state of the union sort of stuff. Like for you guys, what do you see for our agents and our operators that are here on the ground? 2 to 3 of the most critical things that they can't ignore, and maybe 1 or 2 key actions that they need to make happen if they want to make sure that they go well. Start with you, Manos.
Yeah. Look, you mentioned it earlier on. I think everything falls into place when you truly know what you want. So number 1, find out what you truly want. The second thing in your business, work out where your profit centres are. And I've always believed in 3 profit centres, and I think the big focus should really be in what the first one being the director's EBU, and really building out your director's EBU. That's where the shift is right now in the marketplace. individual sales agents, so those building teams in their offices, individual sales agents, but looking at them obviously as your customers, and then of course their profitability to the business, and do a P&L on each individual one. And then the third one is obviously in property management, and that's going to be an exciting space to see what's happening in the AI area as well, and the functionality that's going to come and the simplicity that's coming through. And I understand from the compliance point of view, and probably the third thing is compliance, really being up to speed with compliance, because real estate's not getting any harder or easier to do out there in the marketplace. I think if anything, our skill set is harder, easier to learn, to adapt, speed of execution just there, but actually understanding compliance and making sure that we're compliant out there in the marketplace, so there's no nasty surprises later.
And there have been a few nasty surprises recently in the industry, some very, very nasty ones. You know, we're talking federal court stuff and all sorts of jazz. So, mate, we're not trying to scaremonger you. You've got to understand that you can't avoid crossing all those T's and dotting all those I's. You've got to get it right, and it's really, really critical. Chris, final words?
Well, I'm going to open up to the group and just get a show of hands. How many of you are leveraging AI right now on a daily basis in your business for efficiencies? Awesome. How many of you are leveraging Evergreen and YouTube of the likes? Who might be our next guest? Is he online? Or no? There's Mike up next. Still waiting on
we've
him.
got Glenn, and we've got and we've got Barry, so we've got some
cool.
amazing.
How many, just show of hands, sorry, are using, like, who knows what Evergreen is and using the power of YouTube? Wow, okay, so there's one thing I'd start with today is out of today, take a little to-do list and do some research on Evergreen. I mean, we talk about REA, the big devil we all dance with. There's another bigger devil that is known as YouTube. That's a $40 billion platform that many of us don't leverage as much as we should as industry agents, so start there. And lastly, I think with AI, tech, any platform, whatever it is, we are still a relationship-based business, so still nurturing the contact, I feel, is vital to getting the business and getting invited into the door rather than just having your data nurtured, automated for you. So make sure you're still doing the calls, you're connecting the dots from the automation that tech's doing for you.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it, love it. Team, I could spend all day chatting to these two lads. They are an absolute fountain of information. Big round of applause, please. Great work, chaps. Great work. Awesome.